Michelle, and I am one half of Force of Light Entertainment. And filling in for Natalie tonight is the little green guy, Baby Yoda. He will be in Natalie's chair tonight and will be cheering us on. And hopefully Natalie will be joining us in the chat. And Natalie is not with us tonight because Natalie has never watched Rebels. So therefore, she's out. So our guest tonight is Adam, who is one half of From a Certain Point of View.
We got two halves tonight.
and thank you, Adam, for coming on.
Thank you for having me. I love coming on the show. Thank you for having me again.
Yes, anytime. And Adam was nice enough to come on because he knows that Natalie has not watched Rebels.
I didn't know that until you told me that.
So this was the only way I was going to be able to discuss Rebels. So here we go. Let's see. Oh, yeah, Mark. Hello, Mark. How are you? And Mark, I just want to say thank you for all of your support that you have given us. I really appreciate. We've gotten several new subscribers out of those people. So thank you, man.
That's awesome.
Yes. It's always nice when other podcasts promote podcasts, YouTube channels, whatever, promote one another.
Yeah.
And I like that. It's nice. But to those watching, both Force of Light Entertainment and From a Certain Point of View are both part of the Red 5 Network. And if you want to check out, there's all kinds of different great podcasts on the Red 5 Network. So visit thered5network.com to check those out. All right. Well, tonight we will be discussing characters and big moments from Star Wars Rebels. So join the conversation and let's talk some Rebels. All right. Who else we got? We got Scuba Pete. Let's see. Okay, so Adam, what was your? I should have said that we usually start with initial thoughts. Did you watch Rebels when it first came out, or did you kind of get into it after it had been going?
Yeah, no, I got into Rebels when it first came out, and it was a weekly watch for me. Clone Wars wasn't that way, but for me, Rebels was a day one thing, so I was there the whole way through.
Yeah, I remember watching like maybe the first episode when it came out on Disney. What was it, HD or something, or
Disney XD? Yeah, it's like their teenage. Yeah, it's like their kind of like their. Honestly, it's like their teen boy channel.
Yes, and I watched like the first episode. I think I tried to show my niece it, and then for whatever reason didn't watch it until my brother told me to. And I think they were in season 3 when I finally got into it. Mm-hmm. Or maybe just finished 2 seasons, and then I really got into it and really, really enjoyed it. I mean, thoroughly enjoyed it. And I know you had just done it. Have you finished your Rebels rewatch, Adam?
No, I'm about halfway through. I'm getting close to the end of season 2.
Okay, because I started it like 2 weeks ago and killed it. Like killed all 4 seasons.
So was that the first time you watched it the first time you watched it, did you binge like the first 2 seasons and then go through season 3 and 4, or is this the first time you watched it the whole way through?
I watched the first 2 seasons and then would watch as they would come out.
Okay, got it. Okay.
And then this time, I mean, I just killed it all, binged it, all of it, and thoroughly enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how you feel, Adam. This is a bold statement for those watching in the future. People may just exit out after I say this, but my declaration, I know a lot of people don't feel this way. I personally enjoy Rebels start to finish more than Clone Wars.
I don't think that's that outlandish of a statement, to be honest with you.
Well, Clone Wars is so kind of choppy and different things.
And that's a George Lucas problem. George was kind of bouncing back and forth in the stories he wanted to tell, and so those first few seasons, it's a back and forth, and it's rough. My brother watched Clone Wars for the first time, start to finish, and that's the first thing he said was it's really confusing, and up front it is.
It is. Yeah, my mom even was going to watch it because I think she just wanted to know about Ahsoka Tano,
Yeah.
and she was like, I couldn't do it. I was like, let me give you just some arcs maybe to watch then.
Yeah,
'Cause it's good.
StarWars.com even has like a chronological list, but that's, it's even kind of. I wish Disney Plus would have two options. You could watch it in release order or chronological order, because they do have that list that goes in chronological, and it's much easier to take in chronologically. But even getting back to Rebels, I've always maintained that I enjoy parts of Clone Wars more than Rebels as a whole. But even watching this back a second time, I might be changing on that, because Rebels start to finish, it's just a tighter story.
Yeah.
It's more, and not the Clone Wars isn't. It's just more cohesive start to finish, I think.
Totally, 100%. Like, and it truly is like you meet right from the get-go this gang that you follow. And I don't mean gang in a bad way. I mean, like, hang out as a gang. And you meet them and you just follow their story, and it leads right up to really A New Hope. And then kind of fast forwards the very last shot of after the war is won. So it truly, it is very cohesive, and that's why I love it. And it is so tight knit, where of course Clone Wars follows this person, then this person, and that person, where this is truly Star Warsy in the sense of it's just a group of friends that become like family that are fighting a war. And I just really love it. And like you said, okay, like the final 4 episodes of Clone Wars were phenomenal. I think we all feel that way. But Rebels really does have some incredible episodes after rewatching it. Like,
for sure. Yeah.
and I know we'll get into those as we get going. So that's kind of our initial thoughts, guys. I see in the chat that several of you are doing a Rebels rewatch. And hey Charles. We got Charles from Conversations. Yeah, I see several of you all are doing a Rebels rewatch too, which I think a lot of us have before, just kind of with some of the rumors going on for The Mandalorian. It's been a nice time to go back and rewatch. And something else that's so nice about Rebels is it's so innocent. It's such easy watching because it's not emotionally draining. And I've really enjoyed that.
Yeah, especially that last season of Clone Wars was very emotional, with dealing with Anakin's fall in those last 4 episodes. And there's a lot more lightheartedness, I think, in this.
Yeah, definitely. And I think they do such a good job of, like, young people, like my nephews can enjoy it, but then an adult can really enjoy it. Like, they truly thread that needle, like, perfectly, in my opinion, to where all ages can genuinely enjoy the story.
And I think they do that by tying in some things to Clone Wars, tying in and bringing Ahsoka back. That was an incredible moment.
Yes.
Bringing Maul back in, and then the incredibly smart thing is bringing Thrawn into this, because, you get those adults that grew up in the 90s reading these books, and then, they want to see what Thrawn's like on TV. So, that brings them in. But I'll never forget going to a baseball game way back in like 2015, 2016, sitting there and listening to a conversation behind me, and they just happened to be talking about Star Wars, and it was probably like a 10 to 12-year-old kid and an adult, and they were talking about Star Wars, and the adult asked the kid, what's your favorite character? And the kid actually said Ezra Bridger, and I was like, that's cool. That's a brand new generation right there that's starting off with Rebels, and they love that character so much that that's bringing them right in.
Well, I know my nephews, when it was really popular a couple of years ago, they always had their Ezra Bridger doll. It definitely is bringing in that next generation. Well, look who showed up in the chat. Who can't be on tonight because she's not seen Rebels, everyone. So everyone, get on to Natalie and tell her she needs to watch Rebels. But then also, let's see, I'm going to save this question. Great question, Blue Harvest, Vintage Toys. We're going to save that question for the final question of the evening. So we're going to come back to that question. But yeah, so we'll just kind of move in now, discussing characters. Of course, the main characters of the show were, you've got Kanan, Hera, Zeb, Sabine, Ezra, and Chopper. And I want to say this off the bat. I feel like Chopper was definitely that droid that was meant to truly be kid friendly, as all droids are, really. I mean, that's kind of their job, I feel, in Star Wars, to be that kid friendly character. But I don't feel like I appreciated Chopper my first time watching Rebels as much as I have the second time. Like he's genuinely a really good droid.
Yeah, he's a really good droid. He's really funny. I always, for me, the weirdest thing for me with Chopper is that I always was blown away when I figured out why he was named Chopper, because he's a C110P, and when you put C110 with a dash in there and then 0P, it looks like chop. So his name is Chopper.
Gotcha. Okay.
And that blew me away. I was like, that is the most ingenious thing I've ever seen, and I loved it. So, but Chopper as a droid is so funny, and his attitude is so fun to watch, and all the crap that he gives the other characters, and that I love Chopper. Chopper was a great droid for this show, and like you said, just perfect for, I don't know if it's comic relief for kids or just that sentient robot thing, that maybe brings kids in a little bit, but just perfectly done, I think.
He's that perfect mixture. I mean, kind of like R2-D2, really. He's that perfect mixture of like feisty, and then just really sweet too.
Yeah.
I know. I tweeted out the other night, and of course we'll get into it. But after Kanan dies and Hera's out, just kind of grieving by herself, Chopper goes and he grabs and holds her hand with his little clamp, and it was just this very touching moment.
Yeah.
And then also, I think it was Amanda on Twitter. They told me that Chopper has the most kills of any droid in Star Wars.
I can see that.
He is. I mean, my gosh, he's got a jetpack, and he's.
I bet Mr. Bones might, if we ever saw Mr. Bones from Aftermath, he might edge out Chopper in the kills department. But but yeah, as it stands now, I can see Chop getting some kills.
Yeah, Chop definitely does. But so let's kind of start. We'll kind of break the characters off together. So we've got Kanan and Hera, which really, basically, if this was a family, it's kind of like Kanan and Hera are the parents, Zeb is the uncle, Sabine and Ezra are the kids, and Chopper is the pet dog or cat, whatever one you want it to be. That's kind of the family unit.
Yeah. Can't argue with that.
And they really, even Kanan and Hera, they'll refer to Sabine and Ezra as the kids. And I think vice versa. I think if I'm not mistaken, sometimes Ezra and Sabine are mom and dad are fighting, or just kind of comedic. The parents are fighting, or whatever.
Yeah.
But they definitely have this very this very family dynamic. And we can just kind of move into, we got Kanan, who of course survived Order 66.
Yeah.
And is truly a great character. And
yeah,
I didn't know how much I really loved the character of Kanan until rewatching this. And when he, sacrifices himself for them, that whole next episode, I'm not going to say I cried, I didn't, but my eyes got a little watery.
We'll call that crying.
I mean, it was a sad moment, but
it is a sad moment.
He just truly, and I love his arc and the fact that in season 2 he loses his sight. I mean, right. He has.
That was a bold choice to take the show in. A bold direction to take that show in.
It was. I mean, it was a totally bold move when he loses his eyes at the end of season 2. But I bet it truly gives his character something to overcome. And I really love seeing that whole episode with the Bendu, where he teaches him how to see again, basically in the Force, and to see without sight. And there's kind of this deeper meaning there. And it's just that was a great episode. But yeah, what do you think of Kanan?
Kanan is a character, like, not even just overcoming the blindness, but he's had his whole character is overcoming things, and it's overcoming, the fall of the Order, but then it's also overcoming him feeling inadequate to train Ezra. He's overcoming not wanting to get involved again, and then having to get involved again, and then you move into the sight thing. His whole character is overcoming hardship, and it's a very strong character, and it's one that I don't know that we've seen. There's so many characters in Star Wars that overcome hardship, but this is like, for him, it's like almost everything into one.
Yeah,
it's overcoming his past. It's overcoming his feeling inadequate. It's overcoming, this terrible injury. It's everything put into one, and he overcomes all of that to become a Jedi Knight, and sacrificing himself for his team. And it's for a guy that didn't want to get involved, it makes the ultimate choice there.
Yeah, he definitely, that's a great point, Adam. He definitely has this inferiority complex. Like, he doesn't feel good enough to train. Right. And you really see by the end of it, he's better than a lot of the Jedis we saw in the prequels. Like, he's a pretty good Jedi, Kanan is. And I mean, especially by the time, he's basically like Daredevil in a Jedi version.
That's fair. Yeah.
Like, the way he overcomes that.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. And, speaking of his insecurities, I thought it was kind of a moment, even though I'm not a parent, I kind of now, as an adult that is very involved with my niece, I kind of pick up on parental advice they give. And it's at the end of season 2. He's so worried over Ezra because he's with Maul. Right. And Ahsoka just says, he'll be fine. And he's like, how do you know that? And she said, because you've taught him. And it was just this line. It was like, wow, like, there's so many deep lines in the show too, because I feel like was so geared towards parents who worry over their children. And it's like, no, like, if you've taught your children right, they'll be fine. Like, don't worry. Don't worry about it. But that was a good moment. But so then you also have, of course, his relationship. I like that he does not stick to the Jedi code, because he has this relationship with Hera Syndulla. Mm-hmm. And I mean, Hera is just such a lovely, I would use the word lovely. That's the word that comes to my mind when I think of Hera. Like, she's a lovely character. Just so motherly and affectionate to everyone, loves them the way a mother would love their kids. And of course has a romance we see, and we fully know by the end of it with Kanan. And, she's both strong and just so graceful, like, all at the same time, like this amazing pilot, but also this very graceful, kind, caring person. And truly, and I'm not meaning to make you feel weird, but my sister and I love to say stuff like this. I mean, she's just like a beautiful cartoon. Like, you can't. No,
I totally understand what you mean.
It is like,
not to make you feel weird, but I totally understand what you mean by that.
Yeah, and I think she did such a good job. Sometimes I feel like with cartoon characters, they sexualize the female characters. Like, they don't do that at all with her. Like, she's just beautiful. Like, she's just a very pretty character, and she's beautiful on the inside and out. And let's see. Hello, Vader girl, and hello, Amanda. But yeah, Hera, I mean, just an awesome character. And you see her grow and overcome some things. And I mean, it's so sad when she finally, admits to Kanan she loves him, basically right before he dies. But yeah, anything you want to say about Hera?
Yeah, the one thing I want to say about Hera, and it's not something that's ever really mentioned in the show, but it's in the novel A New Dawn, and it's just that Hera's voice is something that they mention over and over again in that novel, that her voice is so powerful, so beautiful, and that's kind of what draws Kanan into her, is just hearing that voice. And so now when I watch Rebels, I'm listening to her voice more, how her, and I don't remember the voice actress that played her. So that's on me. But I'm listening to how she plays that voice, because that's like the one feature that they keep on talking about in that book about Hera, is how strong her voice is. But then moving on from that, like, Hera is such a good character that she keeps coming back. She's back in the Alphabet Squadron series. She's a general, and so she's in Alphabet Squadron there. I guess she had like this little cameo in Rogue One. And I believe, I haven't played through Squadrons yet, but I believe she's in Squadrons and part of the single player campaign in that game. So she's a character that's had some staying power, and it keeps coming back in other other series in this franchise.
Yeah, so I didn't know she's in Alphabet Squadron. That just made me now. I have the book on audiobook. I just haven't started.
It's a hard listen. So I'll be honest, it's a hard, just because it's so detail heavy sometimes. So if you're not paying, especially to the first 4 or 5 chapters, if you're not paying like super close attention, so when you sit down to listen to it, make sure you're actually like really sitting down to listen to those first few chapters, because you meet a lot of new characters right up front, and it helps to really. I tried it on audiobook, and I had to get it in a regular print book just so I could read at my own pace. Yeah,
that sounds a little tense. Hold on, let me see.
It's very good. It's very good. It's just very detail heavy right up front.
Gotcha. Amanda says, she says, in her opinion, it is one of the best Star Wars project Disney has done. I totally agree. I mean, it's just phenomenal. It's just great from start to finish. And something new, but yet something familiar. They just did an incredible job with Rebels. So yeah, and then of course we find out the very final moments that Hera and Kanan clearly were more of a couple than we realized. Yeah. And because she had a child with Kanan that we see. What's his name? Jason? Is that what she names him? I forget now. I just watched it and I forget. But yeah, Hera's just
it's been a few years. It's been a few years since I've watched the whole way through, and I'm only halfway through my watch now.
I watched it last night and forgot.
It's Jason Syndulla.
Okay, yes. Just great character. And so then you move into Zeb, who really is kind of like that uncle figure to them.
Yeah, pretty much, yep.
And I really appreciate his character more the second time. Like, he truly is like a really good character for his role. And I love that it is the original artwork that they had, the design for Chewbacca. Yeah, so that's cool. And of course, he just kind of brings that brute force to the gang of what he can do. I mean, he's a solid character. Anything you want to say about Zeb?
No, I love that they, kind of brought his. I love the history of his species. The Lasat, and they're searching for a home. That they've been displaced, and he's part of a very rare breed of creatures now, and I thought that was a very new look at a Star Wars character. Because we've had Princess Leia, but that didn't start off as the Alderaanians weren't displaced until after we met her. But seeing how Zeb has to overcome that type of situation, being involved in being a part of that type of species, I thought that was very interesting.
Yes, definitely. And yeah, he's just a great character, great guy. And then you've got Ezra and you've got Sabine Wren, and they pretty much are, like I said, kind of brother and sister. And it's funny how Ezra kind of has a crush on her in the beginning. Mm-hmm. And then by the end of it, at times I could figure out, like, do they kind of like each other that way or no? Like it kind of goes back and forth.
Yeah, it's almost at some points like a brother-sister relationship with them,
Yeah.
Where I think he starts off a little bit infatuated, and Sabine kind of shuts that down pretty quick. But then she does. But then it almost grows into like this brother-sister bond where it's like they're very close, but it's almost like it's not always that type of close,
Yes. And for those of you in the chat, Adam and I were guests on the Jedi Temple Archives podcast, and we did a full episode on Sabine Wren, if you want to check that out. But yeah, both of them, of course, Sabine brings in, as we talked about in that podcast episode, the artwork, and she's the one who comes up with the rebel sign and paints it everywhere.
Yeah, I love that little detail, that she's kind of the one behind the Starbird. Yeah.
Yes, and she, just kind of this very fun, colorful character, and this Mandalorian who carries so much guilt because she designed that weapon that ultimately killed so many Mandalorians. And so her and Ezra kind of relate, like, even though her parents are alive for the first, 2.5 seasons, she basically is on her own. Like, this is her family. She feels she was kind of shunned from her family, at least felt that way. And of course, Ezra's parents, he finds out, have died, and they're both kind of orphans in their own way. And I think really connect over that. And you really see those two go off on missions a lot as the seasons progress, and just really form, like you said, a deep bond. Whether it's could ever be romantic, I don't know, or if it just truly is more brother and sister relationship.
Right.
I mean, they have a great bond, and of course Ezra, becomes quite a good Jedi himself by the end of it.
Yeah.
And I like, he starts with the blue saber, and then he goes to the green saber. Classic Star Wars.
Yeah, and that saber that he made, combining a blaster into a saber, was pretty cool. You always, I don't know, with Star Wars, you always have that blasters versus sabers thing. You have the more civilized weapon, versus the handy blaster at your side. And Ezra makes both, so why not both? And I thought that was pretty clever.
Well, and I like too that him and now that you say that, him and Kanan both. Kanan will whip out his blaster, like both of them. They never fully do away with it, like which you don't ever see with Jedi. So that's pretty cool.
Right.
And last person I brought up, which he's not really a main character, but he's a good original character, and that's Agent Kallus, who of course is the villain for the first 2 seasons.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was so much fun and just believable, even when they do the work they lay the groundwork to where you really believe him when he switches and he becomes a rebel. So I really enjoy his character.
Yeah, but I'd call him a main character. I guess he was definitely a main villain throughout the first few seasons.
Yes.
So, I call him a main character. That I think after he switches, he kind of fades away a little bit. But yeah, those first couple seasons, he's a main villain for sure.
Yeah, and he's a good character. Anything else that you want to say about Ezra or Sabine before we kind of move into big moments?
I mentioned this on JTA, but Sabine I appreciate for the creativity, not just that she has, but I think the creativity that she lets fans have, because I think to a point before Rebels, you would see if you saw someone create like a pink TIE fighter, they're like, what are you doing? The TIE fighters aren't pink. But after Sabine, it's like, yeah, why not? If that's how Sabine wants her TIE fighter to look, then that's cool. And if you as a fan want to make something like that, or make a Mandalorian armor and paint it, purple and orange, go for it. That's cool. She makes it her own, and I think it inspires other people to make, their Star Wars their own too.
I was going to say too, well, yes. And I was going to say, I actually wanted to say this on that podcast and just didn't say it because we had just done our series on the Hunger Games.
Okay.
And it actually kind of reminds me Sabine's symbol, which is the bird, which ultimately becomes.
Oh, yeah, sure. Right.
It reminds me of the Mockingjay symbol getting blasted everywhere and becoming the symbol of hope and change. Yep. And it's very similar if you look at it. What is it called that she
Starbird.
Okay, the Starbird. Yeah, it's very similar to the Mockingjay, and it kind of reminds me.
It is. Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
Yeah, but she is such a fun character, and just getting to know the Mandalorians more through her family that was a cool several episodes that they did.
Yeah, and very good Mandalorian lore in the show too. So
yes.
Very good history between the Jedi and the Mandalorians, and might be a good idea to watch, especially watching Mandalorian. It's good to have that background knowledge, I think.
Let's see. I think let's save this question for the end too. We'll combine that with the Mandalorian question.
Okay.
um,
I have ideas about that, Mark, though. I've been
okay.
thinking about that.
Yes. And okay, as we'll move into kind of big scenes, for starters, let's just say for those of you, for Natalie who's not seen it, but let's just bring in the people.
We're not going to let that go tonight, are we?
Let's just bring out the people that appear on the show, that we all know and love. You've got Lando, you've got Princess Leia, you've got Princess Leia's adopted father, you've got Darth Vader, Tarkin, Maul, Ahsoka, Palpatine, Thrawn, Saw Gerrera. I mean, the list just kind of keeps going. Mon Mothma. Like all these big characters, may have an episode or two and be sprinkled in. And it was just so much fun to see Lando in season 1, or Princess Leia show up in season, I believe, maybe 2, I believe.
Yeah.
I binge watched it so hard. Running.
Yeah, I just watched those episodes not too long ago. So it was season 2 where Leia showed up.
Yeah.
They were all really well done. It never felt like, let's just drop in Lando here, and then, Billy D. Williams is voicing Lando, so that type of stuff happens. That's really cool. But they always felt like they had a purpose to be there. And it wasn't just, let's bring in, and Amanda mentions Hondo. I was going to mention Hondo. I think Hondo is far funnier in Rebels than he ever was in Clone Wars.
I agree.
He's hilarious in Rebels, and he's not just Rebels. He's in Disney parks now. He's like a mainstay in Disney parks now, Hondo, and I think a lot of that is because his legacy was continued in Rebels.
Definitely. Like I didn't appreciate Hondo until Rebels, and then you really enjoy Hondo. He's a good character in Rebels. Like he's sneaky, but like you overall,
he's always jumping back and forth, at the opportune moment, and it's funny. I mean, he's just genuinely funny, and I think Rebels just kind of enhanced that for me, a lot, actually.
Definitely. Hello, Cam. But yes, I mean, just so many awesome characters in this, and that they got them to voice it.
Yeah.
So, and if you think of anyone else, you can say it, but we'll kind of move into big things. Okay, first thing before we move into the mega big things.
Okay.
I thought it was really cool. Of course, the Grand Inquisitor. That whole him as a villain in season 1 was great. And he was voiced by actually a very well-known actor. Hold on. Now I say that and I didn't write down his name, but you would know him if anyone in the chat. Do you guys know, or you guys Google that? I can't Google and talk at the same time. Who voiced the Grand Inquisitor? It's a known actor, and I was kind of shocked when I was like, "Oh yeah, and I forgot to say, I did say Palpatine was in it. I did, but anyways, the Grand Inquisitor was a great villain, and I think it's in season 2. Oh yeah, there we go, Jason Isaacs, which. You guys may not know that name, but if you looked at him, if you saw him, you know exactly who Jason Isaacs is. But anyways, he was a fantastic villain, and I thought it was so cool when Kanan has kind of that vision, and in the temple when him and Ezra are in the Jedi temple in Lothal, and he finds out that the Grand Inquisitor was a temple guard, and it's kind of like this wrinkle, like you're like, what's happening? And that was kind of a cool scene. And it's just like, I mean, how did you take that Vader just kind of took those with him and made them into an Inquisitor? I mean, how did you take that?
I pretty much that's what I felt happened. I kind of felt that they were Jedi that survived and were kind of twisted into that purpose. And, I loved exploring that more in Jedi Fallen Order, seeing that take on it. But I kind of figured that's what that was. Jason Isaacs is an awesome bad guy, and Sarah Michelle Gellar voiced the seventh sister.
The seventh sister. Yeah, she did.
Okay.
Yeah,
I get my sister numbers mixed up a little bit, but yeah, she was the seventh sister.
which of course is fun since her husband in real life is Freddie Prinze Jr. was voicing Kanan. Oh, and I want to say this. I really loved, because Kanan was such a good character, I thought it was so awesome that they allowed Freddie Prinze Jr. to voice Kanan in The Rise of Skywalker, and for him to be one of the voices that called out to Rey. I mean, that just shows what an incredible Jedi he actually became. The fact that through the Force, he's one of the ones with all these other incredible Jedi that calls out to Rey in that moment. So I thought that was awesome. And it was one of those moments in the theaters, you're like, oh, it's Kanan. Like it was exciting. I loved it. Yeah. But so too, another big moment, and you name off anything, Adam, that you thought, but another big moment for me was at the very end of season 1, where Fulcrum has been giving communication to Hera this whole time, and even Sabine gets aggravated at one point, wanting to know who it is. Yeah. And at the very final moment, we find out it is Ahsoka Tano. And that was just like, oh, yes, like Ahsoka's back.
I'm sitting here getting chills just thinking about it. Like the first time I saw that happen, it was like an out of my seat moment. You know, it's just like, yes, it's Ahsoka. Yeah. And that was by far one of the biggest moments for me. Another big moment for me was Vader in I believe it was the start of season 2.
Yes, it is.
Where Vader shows up, and you know, just the lightsaber turns on, and you know, the lines. You know, I just feel cold. You know, and yeah, it was just amazing. The way that they handled Vader in this series was A+. I blown away by all those Vader scenes, and especially that one in particular. You know, the first time you see that saber light up.
Well, and I love another, just one of those brief moments that's awesome, is when Vader, and they handle Vader in a way that you fear Vader. Like you truly understand how scary and frightening Vader is. Like he's frightening.
When he's crushed by, was it a walker that fell on him or something? But then, you know, he just kind of lifts it. It's just, he's, like you said, truly frightening. And there's only one thing that they can do, and it's run. And, you know.
Yeah, he's frightening, and they do. I think, does he actually appear at the end of season 1? Just hologram, whatever it's called. I think, or maybe not. Again, they're all running together in my mind. But he's actually in season 2, as far as
and like Blue Harvest says, James Earl Jones was back for that. Was another one that they, you know, James Earl Jones is back for. So
I mean, it was awesome, and I love too where Vader passes the ghost, and Ahsoka's in the ghost, and she just passes out because she like knows it's Anakin. Like that creature is my old basically brother. Like that, and that's just a phenomenal moment.
Right.
And the way she handles that, and that whole episode with her, Ezra, and Kanan in the temple is really neat.
I love the places that we went to, like in the temple, like Malachor. You know, we go to places like Malachor and you know, visit that, and you know, get to see those Sith temples, and that's just amazing. And you know, I guess we can talk about the battle. You want to talk about the battle with Vader and Ahsoka, or am I skipping ahead? Okay.
No, we're going in right now. Okay. Yeah,
I figured that's where we were heading. So
yes, the last 2 is phenomenal as the last 4 episodes of Clone Wars are, and they were phenomenal. The last 2 episodes of season 2 of Rebels compete with it just as much, in my opinion. Like the last 2 episodes of Rebels is truly dynamic, like television. Because in those last 2 episodes, it just kind of, it's basically a continuing story at that point in those 2 episodes. I mean, you have Kanan, Ezra, and Ahsoka. Then you have the Inquisitors coming after them. You have Maul, who's disguising himself to Ezra of who he truly is. And then so then you've got the Inquisitors fighting, you've got Maul fighting. Like, it's just so much going on. And let's just be real. As much as Maul is a villain, you absolutely love the moment he's fighting with them.
Yeah.
Like, that's just a cool moment. And the reveal of Maul at Malachor was just like, oh, like it's Maul. Like, it was awesome. And that's it.
Right. Yeah, Maul's kind of like, I equate Maul to like in wrestling, when you have those villains that you just kind of love to see there, you know, because they add so much to it. That's what Maul is for me. He's that villain that you just love to see, and then you know, like you said, to see them kind of team up when they had to, it was a fun moment.
Well, and literally, he's the one who blinds Kanan, and you should
Yeah.
totally hate Maul's guts, and you still enjoy him being on screen.
Right.
Like, he's just that good of a character, truly. But yes, so that moves us in to I think one of the best duels in Star Wars at this point, honestly, and that is Ahsoka and Vader. And before you get to that, I mean, so many awesome lines in Rebels, because as Ezra kind of stands up to Vader, who comes down so imposing, by the way, on his TIE fighter, and and when Ezra says to him, "I don't fear you," and Vader just replies back, all snappy, "Then you will die braver than most." I mean, there's just so many good lines in this.
So good. Yeah.
It is.
And, like you said, that entrance with him on the TIE fighter is just, it's almost like they're just sitting thinking, like, how can we even just make this better? And why not bringing him in on a TIE fighter, not it,
How do you make Vader cooler? They're like, bring him down on a TIE fighter with his lightsaber out. That's how you do it. And they do it. And of course, that leads us into Ahsoka finally steps up to her old master, her old friend. And I mean, okay, there's very few lines in Star Wars or changes that I like better than when she said, she says, then basically she wants revenge. And Vader says to her, "Revenge is not the Jedi way." And just the dual lightsabers, "I'm no Jedi." I mean, that scene is just like chills.
I know.
I mean, you can just totally geek out. I mean, that is just a phenomenal, that exchange is just like, yes, like that is Star Wars.
That might be the premiere moment of the whole series. There's that duel and that line. That might be the premiere moment. It
really is, because it so perfectly ties back to the fact that she isn't technically a Jedi. She left the Jedi Order, and he knows that better than anyone because he was there and was fighting for her not to leave. So
right.
For him to call her out like, "Hey, revenge is not the Jedi way," and her just to quickly remind him, "I'm no Jedi." I mean, it's just a phenomenal scene, and their fight. And I mean, you truly at this point see like how skilled Ahsoka is. Like she matches with Vader at full strength. And I mean, there could be argument. I don't know if Vader truly had it in him to kill her. I mean, I know you could say he did from how it ends, but I mean, Ahsoka had a very special place in Anakin Skywalker's heart.
But I think Ahsoka also kind of found out that Anakin, as she knew him, was gone at that point.
Yes.
So I think her life was on the line there, and I love the scene where she actually gets to him a little bit, and she kind of breaks his helmet a little bit. And you can see the eyes in there. You can see Anakin's eyes.
And I love that they brought back Matt Lanter to voice Anakin again for that one moment.
Right.
And he does kind of break in. She does kind of break down or break to him. And then you're right. He is gonna just kind of try to end it. And of course, we had to wait years or a year or two to find out how that ended.
Yeah.
Of course, with Ezra pulling her through into the world between worlds and saving her that way, because Vader was going to.
Right.
Because I always thought right from when I saw it the first time that she lived, because they show someone kind of walking off. If you notice.
Yeah, I didn't quite think she died either. You and Natalie mentioned the other day on, I think it was Stranger Things, the rule with you don't have a body, then they're not dead.
No body, no death, people.
Yeah. So I kind of felt that she was alive too. But then, I mean, that was a big thing for fans too. That sparked the whole Ahsoka Lives hashtag on Twitter.
Yeah.
That was a big thing for a while. And then, like you said, see how she got out of it with the roll between worlds was kind of cool.
Yeah, it definitely was. So I mean, that whole scene, it just chills, fire. It's just an awesome scene. And two other scenes I have the whole Darksaber arc was awesome. Of course, what is the planet? I'm forgetting. It's Maul's home planet that they're on when they find the Darksaber.
Oh, you had to ask me this right now. I'm gonna blank on it. It's
Someone in the chat, I'm sure, will know it.
it was on. Yeah, it was in
It was
Fallen
in
Order
Clone
too.
Wars stuff. But that whole, it's pretty. That's like good Halloween episodes with those kind of witches that are in it.
Dathomir.
Yes, Dathomir. Yes, Dathomir. That whole thing's kind of cool, where Kanan and Sabine kind of get possessed by those witches' spirit, and they've got to get them out. And of course, they ultimately end up with the Darksaber. And the whole Darksaber arc is pretty cool. And of course, it helps Sabine's character overcome what she's done as far as her guilt she carries.
Right.
But something I wanted to that I think of now every time for the Mandalorian, we see him for season 2, him jetting off in his jetpack that he got at the end of season 1. There's a line in Rebels that I think of now, and it's Bo-Katan, and she says, let me find it. She says, "A Mandalorian with a jetpack is a weapon." And I just think of
Well,
that
I mean,
now.
you saw him at the end of season 1, what he did to a TIE fighter in the air with just him and his pistol and a it was a rising, I forget what they call that thing.
Yeah.
With the jetpack. Yeah, it's lethal.
It is lethal. So
Yeah.
I think we're going to see more of that in the Mandalorian season 2 for sure. But then kind of last big moment, and then we'll kind of talk the end really quick, is the Obi-Wan versus Maul, that final duel. I mean, it's so short, but so good.
Yeah. I wasn't surprised how short it was,
Yeah, I was too.
but
Yeah.
it just brought, honestly, I think at that point, Maul needed some finality because
Yes.
Maul has just been around forever, and good or bad, I think it just needed to end, and I think that was the perfect way to do it. On Tatooine with Obi-Wan, lifelong enemies, and just one swing and it's over.
Yes, and I mean, talk again lines. I love when Maul finds Obi-Wan on the desert of Tatooine, and he says, "Look at what's become of you, a rat in the desert." I mean, just such a total put down. And I mean, and then anyways, Obi-Wan, he replies, "Look what I have risen above." And I love that line so much because it just shows the way so much of how we deal with life, it comes down to our perspective. Like Obi-Wan could have viewed his life as just totally depressing, total failure, had gone from living in court, in this big city in the Jedi Temple to living as a rat in the desert, as Maul calls them. And that's not the way Obi-Wan views it, though. He could view it as, "Oh, look what everything I've lost," but no, he says, "Look at what I've risen above." And I love that line. Like that is a great line for life in what we go through.
Yeah, indeed.
It's just so Obi-Wan too, and that line just totally solidifies why Obi-Wan in many ways is one of. I mean, it's hard to say who's your favorite character in Star Wars. I mean, I have so many, but he's just such an amazing character. Just so wise in his own way, and just such a great person, basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, and the way too that Obi-Wan literally holds Maul after he has, killed him. I mean, he had no choice.
Beautiful little moment there.
It is. I mean, literally, this is the man who had killed the love of his life, and in his final moments, he handles him with such grace and dignity. And I mean, I do love, and I mean, it's telling of Maul that he asked him about the chosen one and says, is he the chosen one? I do actually like it when he says he'll avenge us, because have you heard this? I heard that they kind of indicated that Maul had almost like a vision into the future of Luke defeating, or Vader and Luke defeating Palpatine. And I don't know. I've heard that somewhere. So I might have just totally made that up. I don't know. I feel like I've heard it, but I just think it's a cool moment.
I don't know if I've heard it. I mean, I could see that becoming a theory. And, I think Maul had some insight about what was going on, especially at the end of Clone Wars, with his involvement in that arc. I could see that being a theory. I don't know if I buy into it, but I think it could be a theory.
But regardless, it's just such a and then that episode ends with Obi-Wan riding off and seeing Luke running in for when his aunt calls him. I mean, that's just an amazing episode. And then we'll kind of end on, as far as moments, the way this ends. Everything ends, and of course, Hera has Jason Syndulla, her son, with Kanan. Zeb goes off to live wrong name, goes off to live with with his people, and just to see Lothal now under the Republic, and it's like a new day, and for Sabine to finally understand what Ezra meant when he would say what was he saying to her, basically kind of like, come, I don't know, she puts it together that he wants her to find him. And of course, as he goes off with Thrawn. And so it's a cool ending. And with that, we can kind of bring up the question that was brought up before. So Adam,
real quick, I want to mention, I already mentioned Thrawn once, but I want to mention seeing Thrawn live, well, not live, but on TV. And that, that moment that he was revealed, and I forget, I want to say that was a celebration that he was revealed in the trailer for season 3, and just seeing that, Thrawn was coming to TV, and that was like one of my favorite villains, bad guys, and just to see how they handled him, because on TV Thrawn is like, he's so calculating. Thrawn just, like, he always wins, and to see how they handled that, because he can't always win against these characters. These are your main characters, so he can't kill them all. But just to see how they handled that with kind of like the give and take, and it's kind of like a chess match between the two of them. I loved how they handled Thrawn, and even seeing kind of Thrawn's failure with the Ghost Crew, how that kind of carried over into some books like the Thrawn series. I thought that was very cool, just to see the interconnectedness, and more Thrawn for me is always good. I love it. I love Admiral Thrawn.
Yeah, he's definitely a very interesting, kind of unique character.
I see what you did there, Scuba.
Yeah, he's interesting. So with that in mind, we'll close out with the 2 questions that we saw earlier. One being, and they kind of tie together, I think, maybe in their own way. Mm-hmm. One being, will we see any of these characters? Adam, Natalie and I did our odds on our last episode, or our last video. So what are the odds that we see? Who are you betting on that we could see in season 2 of The Mandalorian from Rebels?
Highest odds for me is easily Ahsoka and possibly Rex. I'd throw in Rex there too. But for me, far and away best odds is going to be Ahsoka.
Yeah, I think we all feel pretty confident. It's going to be bad if she's not in it. We're like, what? I think we all feel so confident at this point Ahsoka's in it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just been talked about and rumored and leaked and all this other stuff for ages. So I think that has to be the easy, softball answer.
And I definitely see a route if they wanted to bring Sabine into this. I definitely see it's easily done. Or Bo-Katan are easily put in. Well, and actually, it's easy to put Ahsoka and Sabine together, since they were off together trying to find Ezra. Kind of similar timing of The Mandalorian almost. So it's like they could either be trying to find him or coming back from, or I could see that too. So
yeah, for sure.
I'm definitely just interested. I mean, regardless, if none of these people are in The Mandalorian season 2, I love the characters that were established in season 1 enough that I think I'm going to be happy no matter what. But, it is exciting to speculate about some of these characters possibly being in season 2 for sure. And then we'll end with, and I'll let you, I've not actually really thought of this. Do you think we will see a Rebels season 5?
My answer to that is no. I think Rebels is done. So I don't think we'll see Rebels season 5 or a Rebels 2 or something like that. that story though has to continue somehow, and I think what I would like to see is like an Unknown Regions story or series or something like that. So, maybe it focuses around Ahsoka and Sabine traveling through the unknown regions, because we've only very recently found out, any more about the unknown regions than just a name and a couple planets, with the Thrawn book, the Ascendancy, Chaos Rising. So now that we know a little bit more about that already, I'd like to see that, let's follow them into the unknown regions. Let's see what kind of new things they find in the unknown regions. And, eventually we got to find Ezra there somewhere, I think, right?
Totally.
So I would think that. The other thing I was thinking is, maybe somehow Ahsoka and Sabine and the Bad Batch hook up, and maybe that's what happens with the Bad Batch series, because that I would be interested to see. Maybe they put together a little crew of those two plus the Bad Batch, and that's where they end up going, is the unknown regions to find Ezra. So I would really like to see the unknown regions explored. Yeah, Amanda, I agree. I would like to see the unknown regions explored a lot more, and find out a lot more about that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I agree, Adam. As we kind of close, I agree. I do not think we'll see Rebel season 5. I do think we'll see these characters again, though, in some form or fashion. I just think it would be a spinoff. It's not going to actually be Rebel 5.
Right.
They're going to take it with some route and it be its own new thing that they can breathe life into and just kind of start fresh in its own way.
Yeah. It's not going to be called Rebels, but that story has to be finished off somehow.
Definitely
can't leave that cliffhanger forever.
No, definitely not. So it'll be interesting to see if any of these characters show up in The Mandalorian season 2, and if not, I do think we're going to see these characters somewhere somehow. So
I think so. Now, do you think we already saw Sabine in the trailer? Do you think
I don't think that's her? I
kind of agree with you. I kind of think it's someone we haven't met yet. I think it's a new character, but she's also been rumored to be playing Sabine. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I feel like if Sabine was in it, they would either hide her to be this dramatic, like, oh, Sabine's in it, or they would just really, really let you know in the trailer it's Sabine. Like it would have gone one of the, I don't think it would be this mysterious thing. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe, but I don't really feel like she is. We'll see.
Yeah, I think I'm on board with her too. Sasha Banks is Sabine. Yeah, that's been the rumor. So then, and that was definitely Sasha Banks. So
yeah, it has been the rumor. So we'll see if Blue Harvest is right on that. I mean, you may be, but
I don't know if we'll find out Friday, but we'll find out one of these Fridays.
Oh yeah, definitely. Thank you for subbing. I appreciate all of you. I see a couple of you that have recently subbed, and I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Adam, anything else that you want to say as we kind of wrap it up? Have we covered just about everything for Rebels?
I think it was a great talk. I mean, to cover this great show in about an hour, that's impressive. I think we did all right with that. So I love Rebels. Rebels is such a great show. I think it was Amanda earlier that said it was one of the best things that Disney had done, and it really is. I mean, it was really one of the first things they did too. It was like when the whole purchase happened and the reset happened, and find out we're getting a brand new series. And it was this Rebels thing with these brand new characters. I was kind of a little standoffish on it. I was like, I don't know. I kind of want to see the characters I already know. But I really grew to love these characters, everything about the show. I got a lot of the characters that I did want to see in it anyway. There's cameos and little episodes here and there. But I thought it was. It was just a wonderful Star Wars show, and I can't wait to see more of these characters somewhere and somehow.
Totally. A show ended well when it perfectly wrapped up the story, and yet you want to go on the next adventure with the characters. That's great. And they achieved that. And it just kind of, as we end, it literally reminds us, as Natalie and I said on our last video, in Dave Filoni we trust.
Yeah, right.
He has definitely earned our trust between Clone Wars and Rebels.
Yeah, and that I remember a few months or weeks ago there was all that worry about Mando season 2. Was it going to be okay? Was something wrong with it, or and I was like, I just trust them.
Yeah,
it's kind of like that moment with Ezra, and Kanan worried about him, and Hera tells him, you trained him, he's going to be okay. I kind of feel that way about this stuff. It's going to be okay. Filoni's there.
Yeah, I mean, he did all 4 seasons, and they were all phenomenal, and weaved in characters we loved without messing up the flow of the characters that we grew to love. I mean, he knows what he's doing, guys. I mean, we've got to trust. And Dave, we trust. I mean, we've got to trust him on this. I think he's got it. Him and John. I think they've got to. Think they're a new good tag team, and I think they're going to do good for Mandalorian season 2.
I agree.
But yeah, that is it for this video or this discussion on Star Wars Rebels. And Adam, why don't you tell everyone where they can find you and your show?
Sure. I am one half of From a Certain Point of View. Best place to find out everything about us is from a certain point of view.com. From there, you can get to everywhere you can find our podcast, YouTube channel, things like that. We're on Twitter at Certain POV Pod, Instagram Certain POV Pod. A little later on tonight, we're actually going to be in our Discord server doing a Mandalorian watch party. We're on chapter 5 of that, so those have been a lot of fun. We've been doing one of those a night leading up to season 2, so. We have 4 more nights of that. So anyone that wants to stop by our Discord server, you can find that link on from a certain point of view.com. And it's been a lot of fun.
Yes. Thank you for coming on. Always enjoy having you and having Josh too when he's around. Yeah, you guys, they put on a great Star Wars show every week. So definitely check out From a Certain Point of View, a Star Wars podcast. You guys are on YouTube also. You can
we are. Yep.
Yes, you can find them there too. But yeah, thank you for everyone tonight who's listened and everyone in the chat. I am one half of Force of Light Entertainment. And if you love Star Wars content, I mean, that's kind of my thing. I mean, if you can see my background too, we talk all things entertainment. But let's just say Natalie and I are very excited for the next 8 weeks to be able be on the lookout. Every Sunday we will be releasing our full-on Mandalorian episode discussion it'll be full of spoilers at that point. That's why we're going to release it Sunday. We're just going to have at it with our talk on Mandalorian. So be on the lookout for that every Sunday for the next 8 weeks. But yes, thank you for joining in and everyone in the chat. And thank you for all of you who subbed. We appreciate that very much. And thank you for joining the conversation. And next time, let's talk some more entertainment. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.